So here we are, question 15, which is the final essay question that you need to do. Now, many people, when they see that word essay, it fills them with fear and dread that they're not going to be able to write loads and loads of information and they're not going to be able to do a good job. But I want to just remind you that actually tackling an essay question in this paper doesn't have to be difficult. Now, we said that you should spend roughly 20 to 25 minutes on this, and hopefully within that you would be able to complete a very, very short plan. Now, the benefit of doing a plan when you're writing an essay question is it really helps you focus in terms of your structure and making sure that you stay on target. So I would strongly, strongly recommend that you use the plan, which is going to come up in a second, and you try to get that into your head so that you automatically think that way when you go to do an essay question. Now, as I said earlier, you don't get a choice of questions in this exam, so this is an essay question that you have to do, and you don't have any option but to choose this one. The style, though, is exactly the same as Unit 1, so you're given a statement, which here is the UK should never close its doors to asylum seekers. In other words, we should always allow asylum seekers to come into our country. Now, the question is always the same. Do you agree with this view? Give reasons for your opinion, showing you've considered another point of view. Now think about it, you've just done some practice really of that in the previous question, so automatically your mind should be thinking you're going to write in a similar way. I just want to quickly draw your attention to a couple of things that are different to Unit 1. You might notice that it's out of 15 marks rather than 12, and I'll just explain that in a bit more detail in a second. The other thing is, whenever you get an essay question, you get these 4 bullet-pointed questions here, and it says you can consider the following points in your answer and other information of your own. Now this here is not, okay, and I repeat, not the way in which you structure your essay, but what this is a set of questions which will help you think about what this question is really asking you and what this statement is really saying. So if you have a look at some of those questions now, you'll see that they just start making you think a bit more carefully about the issue of asylum seekers. Now, very, very similar to the Unit 1, you have a generic mark scheme for the essay questions. And again, I just want to really draw your attention to a few key things here. If you only give a one-sided argument, you restrict yourself to 6 marks. Now, this is absolutely essential that you know this, because if you however well you write these points, if you only cover one opinion, then you will automatically lose those other marks. And that can have a huge impact on the grade that you achieve in this particular exam. So please be aware of that. Now I'm going to go straight to looking at level 5 here, because this is an additional level compared to Unit 1. So what we need to do really to write an excellent essay is we need to be having points for and against. Now the key words that kind of feature here is balance, so making sure you have, if you've got 3 arguments for, that you've got 3 arguments against. Or if you've got 4 arguments for, you have 4 arguments against. The other thing is you have to have reasoned and coherent discussion. In other words, you have to have a clear kind of line of argument, and you have to give clear reasons for why you're giving those opinions. You have to be able to show good knowledge and understanding, and if you don't have any ideas and you can't draw on things that you know, then obviously you're going to struggle with the essay. But this thing here is where it kind of really matters, because it says you have to have strong evidence. So don't start making up statistics and don't start using things that aren't true, but try and relate it back to something real that you know is good evidence as much as you can there. The other thing that's really important for this is a clear, reasoned conclusion. So the examiners are trying to get you here to kind of form an opinion which is based on lots of different ideas that you've mentioned. Now, you hopefully have seen this before in lessons, and this is the kind of really basic kind of structure for a GCSE citizenship essay. So you've got your introduction, and really what you're doing there is kind of saying, you're not kind of just repeating what the statement says, but you're trying to just unpick it a little bit. So for this particular essay question, you need to unpick the idea of asylum seekers, which in terms of the fact that they have caused lots of issues within our country, and there's constantly kind of people talking about whether or not asylum seekers coming into our country is acceptable or not. Now, how we recommend you structure it is that you start off with your points in favour, and so it's this idea of being on the one hand, on the other hand, okay? So on the one hand, you would agree with the statement, okay? You give your point, and then you give your evidence, and then you give your explanation. So it's exactly the same technique you might use in other subjects like English. Use that same technique in terms of writing your answers. Now, when you start a new paragraph, make sure you leave a line so that it's really clear that you started a new paragraph. You then have your second point for. Once you've done those, you then look at your points against. Okay, in the same format as the other ones with the PEE. And the final thing, and this is how you're going to really prove that you're in that level 4 or 5, is by giving your own opinion. Now, I just want to go back to the essay question really quickly here, because the examiners, obviously they want to know that you know things, but what is really good about this kind of question is that you get credited for having an opinion, and the examiners are really wanting to see whether or not you are able to understand that there are different opinions about different issues. So it's a really good opportunity for you to be able to, it's almost having a debate but on paper. So just try and think about that you're just trying to prove to the examiner that you can engage in a discussion about a key issue. What I've also included on here for you, and again this is for you to really look at in your own time just to help you before Thursday, is that indicative content. So what you have here, the examiners have given a list of some points that you might use if you want to agree with the statement, and some points that you might want to use if you're disagreeing with the statement. Now again, just have a look at how they phrase those, look at the words they've used, look at the language they've used, and there's some key words in there, and I really recommend that you try and use some of those when you're writing your essay for this Thursday. Again, just a quick reminder, you don't have to cover every single one of those bullet points because it's actually unrealistic to be able to do that in the real exam. But try and choose 2 or 3 that you feel confident that you could talk about, and then try and use those as your points in your essay. I hope you found this really useful. On your sheet that you've been given at the start of the lesson, there's a little activity for you to complete, so please make sure you do that, and any questions, please do ask. Thank you very much, guys.